man has pleaded guilty to 11 counts of fraud under the Fraud Act for producing false delivery documents whilst trying to get out of parking fines. He was ordered to pay over £2,200, once again proving the point that I make all along, that it's better not to try to avoid these fines and deal with them head on. You can either appeal them through the normal route, you can potentially challenge them in court, but one thing you really shouldn't do is make something up to try to avoid them. Because quite frankly, he's lucky that it was only charges under the Fraud Act and not perverting the course of justice, which it very well would have been had he tried to continue that charade in court. So essentially he was given these 11 parking fines, which amounted to £385. A lot less than the £2,200 that he was eventually fined. He accumulated these fines by illegally parking in loading bays and in residence parking zones near where he worked. And in response to these charges, he made up delivery notes to try to say that he was just simply delivering goods whilst he was parked in those spots, thus loading and unloading and not parked, so to try to come in within some kind of exemption. However, when the council investigated this, they realised that the organisation that he claimed to work for wasn't even registered with Companies House. Only when he was interviewed about the documents, he admitted that they were fake and that he'd made them up to try to avoid the fines. Now, this was quite plain and simple fraud, because fraud is to make a dishonest statement with a view to make a gain for yourself or another, or to cause a loss to somebody else. So ultimately he pleaded guilty to these 11 counts of fraud and was fined £2,200, made up of fines and costs and victim surcharge and so on. So as I've said many times before, it is always better to deal with something head on, even if it is as simple as a parking fine, because this has now become a fairly serious criminal record for a dishonesty offence of fraud. So in any kind of application, be it finance or an application for a job or anything else at all that asks those questions, do you have any convictions? This man is obviously going to have to answer yes, he has a fraud conviction. Because many people mistake this. Even if you plead guilty to these charges, it's still a conviction and it is still a criminal record. Pleading guilty to something doesn't mean that it's not a full-blown criminal record, as it would be had you been tried and found guilty. So this will have to be disclosed in all manner of applications and can have a significant effect on every area of his life, when it all started out as a few parking fines. But once again, not to be confused with a parking charge notice. Many people say that they are difficult to distinguish. Well, I suggest that they are not difficult so long as you remember my words in these videos and remember the word penalty. Remember, in any kind of sports match, if a penalty is awarded, it is a punishment because someone has done something wrong. Now, private companies cannot punish you, therefore private companies cannot issue a penalty against you. Only authorities can, and police can for certain offences. So if it is a parking charge notice, then it's a private company that's issued it. If it is a penalty charge notice, and that's the key word, then it's a local authority. It is a fine and it can have very much more serious consequences. Ultimately, if it's a parking charge notice, a private company must take you to court, although I would still suggest that you follow the usual appeals process if you disagree with the parking charge notice, only if you do disagree with it, but ultimately if they want the money from you, they will have to take you to court. So once again, lessons learned, don't lie about these things, don't make up documents, just deal with the problem head on, even if you need to take advice on what you're about to do. As always, take formal legal advice, and this video is not, but in the meantime, I'd really appreciate if you like this video and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.